Full TV in association with Macklin's Gym Marbella. We're in Manchester here. I've hounded this man for 2 days. With me I've got Andy Brown. How are you?
Coog.
You alright?
Yeah, I'm good, mate.
I know you didn't really want to do this because this ain't really your thing.
It's not the
Talking
slightest.
to people like me, media. I know you
I
watch
always
that
talk
stuff.
to you, Coog, but that's not on camera.
I just wanted to sort of catch up, really. I didn't think it was the right time straight after the hay belly thing. Emotions were running very high. Everyone
yeah,
was,
just a tad.
so we don't know what you would have said or anyone would have said. So a few days later, I've sort of looked back on it and just explain to me, in your opinion, what actually happened in that head-to-head.
What happened in the end was David and Tony did what the boxers do and everything else, and then we pulled Tony out the way and removed. But David's security decided, rather than pulling David out the way, which is his job and his only job, he decided to launch at Tony, and we blocked it off. And then we had a discussion afterwards, trying to get him to explain why he felt the need to go after Tony when, as a close protection officer, your job is to protect your principal and only your principal, not to go for somebody else's.
I mean, I suppose from people just watching the clip, it was a kind of confusing situation of who you were actually talking to.
Yeah, I had it a lot on Facebook, even friends that I know and everybody else mentioned it, and I did put a piece out on Facebook to say that it wasn't David Hay that I was talking to, it was David, who is David Hay's personal bodyguard, and a guy we've interacted with quite a few times because he looks after George Groves and everybody else, and we have to work together and everything else, but it's a mistake that shouldn't be made.
So, I mean, within your sort of security guidelines, you've been doing this a long time, there's not really many experienced people in the game than yourself and everyone that works under Clifton. But what's the guidelines for things like that? Your job is to make sure that no one puts their hand on Tony Bellew.
Our job for that press conference is purely to protect Tony, and David's job is to purely protect David Hay. So the boxers do what they do. It's part of the fight game. Everyone knows it's part of the fight game. So the push and the left hook is part of the fight game. Then our job is, that's as far as it goes. You pull Tony out the way, they pull David out the way, you go your separate ways, you do your interviews. Is what's supposed to happen.
But obviously that didn't quite happen the other day.
That didn't quite happen. David decided, in whatever mind he got going, to launch at Tony. And that can't happen.
Obviously, with more or less 3 months until March the 4th now, there's going to be, before fight week, a proposed 2 situations where you're going to be sort of in that environment again. I believe there's going to be presses in Liverpool and wherever else.
There's always going to be more. There's always going to be more of a build-up. And again, like we did for the first press conference, before it all started, because of things that have gone on in the past and everything else, and misunderstandings, we had a meeting with him and his team beforehand to discuss things and how it was going to work, and it just didn't go that way. But at the end of the day, we're professionals. We've got to work together because he works for David, we work for Matchroom, and we look after Tony. So we'll have to work together. But the thing is, he can't put his hand on Tony. It's not going to happen.
I mean, this is not the first time we've kind of seen like rival security firms from. We know that you're on the Matchroom side looking after the boxers on their behalf, but we've seen it before. It's not always talked about. It's never actually hardly ever talked about. It's only because them clips went viral the other day, and who was right in the firing line of it.
Yeah, to say a little bit unexpected is to say the least, especially the fact that it went completely viral. I've had so many things, memes, Phil Mitchell memes, and Thug Life's done and everything else. At the end of the day, it's a job that I get paid to do, that I enjoy doing and everything else. I believe at the moment it's your 3rd highest clip as well.
Correct. Which by the end of the year, so in another month, that would have been, I'm assuming, will be our #1 clip.
So it's done you the world of good.
100%, 100%.
But at the end of the day, I can't be doing that too badly when my boss Eddie Hearn is taking the piss out of me on screen, trying to do a really bad Birmingham voice, and it's not really working. Eddie, you've got to work on that, I'm afraid. But yeah, it is what it is. It's the job, and we'll deal with David, and we'll talk and we'll work together and everything else. I'm not really sure when we go to Liverpool how the public will react to David. David Hay, yeah, I know how they'll react to David. They'll boo and they'll hiss, but they won't. But I'm not quite sure, because there was quite a few Twitter messages from people in boxing saying that he would be enemy number one in Liverpool, which, to be fair, he's made a mistake. It shouldn't happen. It won't happen. He won't get his hands on Tony. So I would suggest comments like that need to stay as comments and nothing else, because it'll get Tony into trouble more than it'll get anything else.
So obviously, watching that back, I don't know how many times you've watched that back, but
because someone said they wanted to do this interview, my phone hasn't stopped for 2 days, Mr. Cassius.
Well, my question was, watching that back now, would you have handled that any differently than what you did?
No, because we did our job. We protected Tony and everything else. We pulled Tony out of the way, and then our job is to stop. And at that point, I thought what David did was disgraceful, and that was why I told him so. But it just happened to be that because his name's David and David Hay was there, everybody jumped on the bandwagon that I was telling David off. And I've known David Hay a long, long time, because we originally were the security for Haymaker. So what David Hay and what Tony Bellew do is part of the game. It is they're allowed certain allowances, but not to go too far. David, on the other hand, that's not part of the game.
So, are you anticipating a potential another clash with the security, let alone the boxers? Forget the boxers for the moment. With the security, when you lot are put in the same room together again?
No, because again, when we get there, we'll have a conversation at the start of the night. It'll all be talked about and everything else, and hopefully not, because this is a professional industry and that's the way it's supposed to be. So hopefully he's learnt from his mistake and his misunderstanding, and we'll go from there.
Apparently there's no need for this is like the #1 catchphrase in the UK at the moment.
Yes, I have had that used to me by so many people. It is untrue. It's just one of those things.
I know we're not going to get you to do it now. I know we're not going to get you to do it now.
No, come on, let's be honest, Coog. You've had to hand me into doing this. I did say.
I did. I made you. I didn't make you do this, obviously, but I the nearest thing you can without actually physically turning the camera on and just rolling anyway. That's what I did. Yeah.
So it is what it is, Coog. We'll get on with it. We'll do the job. Let's see what happens Saturday night when we've got Tony and Mr. Hay in the same building, about 10 feet apart, working for Sky and working for BBC. Let's deal with that first, and then we'll deal with whatever comes from press conferences. And
all right. Well, listen. I appreciate you giving Eiffel TV a little bit of your time. We'll see how this plays out over the next 3 months. I'm sure it's going to be fun and games. Not fun and games for you, but you know.
It is fun and games. At the end of the day, it's a job I enjoy. But let's be serious. Got to get this week out of the way first. We've got Mr. Chisora and Mr. White to deal with.
Oh yeah, tomorrow. that has potentials that could exceed Hay Bellew.
Yeah, that'll keep you busy and happy with your photo clips.
I don't know what you're suggesting we are, but you're right. Whatever it is you're suggesting, you're right. Anyway.
Coogan, you love it. You wouldn't, without that, you wouldn't have a job. Let's be honest.
It's true. It's true. Beef sells.
Yes,
That's all I'm
it does.
say.
It does.
Beef sells. All right, Andy. Listen, thanks for talking to Eiffel TV. And some people thought there was no need for this interview, but I thought there was.
Yeah, there's definitely no need for this, Coogan.
Apparently.
Apparently.
All right. Listen, thanks for talking to us, and we'll catch up with you soon, mate. All right.
No problems.
Thank you, mate.
See you later, mate.